Grimlord's been out for just about a year at this point, and I think it hasn't gotten the attention that it actually fully deserves yet. And maybe that's because there has been a bunch of different VR games, or maybe VR hasn't necessarily been getting the attention overall that it deserves, but I still feel like Grimlord is one of those titles that is very well established, very well made, and just not talked about. Or maybe just because it's way too hard for people. But playing through it, it's been one of the most engaging VR experiences I have played to date, for a multitude of reasons. Besides the fact that it's absolutely clapping my voluptuous cheeks every single time I open the damn game in the first place. I believe that a lot of games are gonna take what was basically this game innovating as the first official Soulsborne VR game and try to adapt from there. This game, as I've named in some previous videos, has really taken that mantle of the Dark Souls VR game. And I kind of don't like the fact that I kind of put Grimlord in the shadow of Dark Souls, but it's inspired off of that at the end of the day, let's be real here. So I mean, it's kind of just the Dark Souls of VR. A lot of VR games are inspired off of previous flat screen games, let's be real. And there's nothing wrong with similarities. Let's be real here. Hard medieval game with dodging and parry mechanics just equals Soulsborne. So if you're a masochistic gamer that actually loves to see this constant message on screen, this game might be for you. Get help. Seek therapy. With the constant communications, updates, environments, story, and especially difficult gameplay, this is what really makes this a memorable VR experience that I think everyone truly needs to play. Now, although this definitely isn't the first Grimlord video that you've seen, considering the fact that this is constantly put up on my channel, you have heard me talk about it, and I'm damn well gonna do it again. Now, although I've been putting up gameplay videos of it, the last time I actually sat here and talked about it had to be 2023 when it was still well in beta, and this game has massively improved since then. I gotta continue to glaze and compliment how Grimlord manages to make the environments feel so huge in scale, and your journey through each level constantly feels engaging with the spread of enemies and the lack of loading screens. Which, I just gotta say, no loading screens for the most part. Let's be real, there's quote-unquote hidden loading screens or whatever within the saves, but it's still kind of impressive that you can, if you're good enough, just go through an area and not encounter a loading screen for hours at this point, depending on how long it takes for you to go through a level. It's just wild to see such large levels and how you're able to slowly progress throughout the entire place. For example, I spawned here, and I can see the area that I need to get to, which is far as flippity fuck. And yet, supposedly after about an hour, without any loading screens, I get there and I can see the entire journey and route that I've taken since I've started. It always leaves some room for the player to look back and see how far they've come throughout their playthrough. And I had to keep stopping just to appreciate how the view looked quite a few times. Initially, when playing this game in beta, I thought that they had something pretty special, and you could see more of it in the last video that I made on Grimlord years ago. Since then, there has been so much improved in terms of gameplay, actually having a story, enemy variations, and even game mode. The most recent update, I believe, as of right now, is the Halloween update, but I guess the first major one is actually the arena update. But it's cool that they always have the Halloween, but oh my god, I didn't get my Halloween armor. Fuck! The data deleted last time and I lost my Halloween armor and now it's back and I don't think it's gone again! But there's the arena update where you just, it's fighting in an arena and fight waves of combat, similar to Bone Labs or Blade and Sorcery or Hard Bullet or Battle Talent. Nothing new. It almost feels similar to Oblivion's arena, where you actually have these tasks that you have to do and then you fight specific waves of enemies, that are covering specific themes, and then you get specific prizes because of it. It's cool how they made it interactive, where you're pinning it to a bulletin board and it slowly scales in difficulty, which just makes things more engaging and feel more earned. The way to get to the arena, at the very least, is just the gladiator that introduces you to the battles in the first place. This dude looks totally badass, by the way. And then you get access to the actual arena. And although that's a good bit of fun itself, it's definitely worth giving it a try, because at least it feels like there's a bit more substance to the wave combat. And the prizes and gear that you actually get from this is something that you can use throughout the campaign, which brings us to the topic of customizability. Customization? Customization is a better word. When talking about the customization, Grimlord has always had the building blocks and the overall setup for a very versatile weapon customization system, where you can mend with different parts like handles, blades, guards, gems on your staff, the type of bow or the arrows that you're using, or whether or not it's a hand bow or a crossbow, that all have their own stats, buffs, and abilities. They're also arranged in different classes such as spears, one-handers, two-handers, blunts, staffs, and shields. And all these parts for several different types of weapons are spread throughout your journey, and you can pick up new weapons and pages with specific parts attached to them. With, let's be real here, the most powerful weapon, of course, coming from bosses. That just leaves a vast amount of customizability in just the base game alone, and that genuinely gets me so excited for what's to come later down the line. And along with that, there's different builds in magic, archery, mage, and strength builds that had several different levels of replayability depending on the class that you want to choose. I think back in the beta, I decided to try like a magic class, and then I tried a more archer-based class, and then I tried a knight class. So far in the main game, I'm just mainly doing like a knight or a strength build, but I think I also have a staff, like an ice staff as of right now, just to be able to like mix things up a little bit. But like it actually really encourages replayability, which I think isn't something common with a lot of VR games. And I think this is really cool to add. Like, I think another area that VR could tackle a little bit more is aiming towards replayability, because as of right now, a lot of the games are replayed, sure, but not because they want a new experience out of it, just because not much releases in VR nowadays to grab your interest elsewhere. If anything, it's just a case of because maybe they want to relive the first time experience again or whatever, who knows. Being able to have not only the 3 initial types of armors that the game actually starts you with, but finding various different outfits as well that all have their own stats for the types of classes that you're going for, really adds an insane level of depth in the game overall. I originally thought it was just going to be those 3 armor types, but I didn't realize that there were like 10 other outfits that you could be finding throughout, your journey whatsoever. And the thing is, I haven't even beaten the game too, so there's probably more. I'm speaking from someone who's only like halfway through at this point, I'm guessing. Along with that too, besides actually just choosing the specific parts of your weapons, there are, I guess for the staff specifically, even different types of spells that you can main with that sort of thing, where I'm currently using the ice staff. My goodness. I'm currently using the ice staff as of right now, which like shoots ice bolts and freezes people. But like also, if I was to hold the trigger, swing the ice staff in a specific pattern, and then like smack down, it actually has like an ice trail that freezes whoever's, or like it pops up ice spikes on the ground that freezes whoever's in its path. But I know that there are like 3 different types of spells that you can actually do for each and every single element as well, which just makes things that much cooler, dude. But of course, if you're gonna be given all these tools, the challenges ahead must be pretty damn intense. And that's where I want to dive into the difficulty of the game. Let's be real. You hear Soulsborne, you know it's difficult, and half the appeal of this game is the fact that it's supposed to be fucking hard. And in comparison to every single other VR game that I've played, this game's pretty fucking hard. I have been beaten, gotten my cheeks clapped consistently, absolutely eviscerated. I don't know why I put up 3 fingers if it's just synonyms of the same shit, basically. I've just been destroyed throughout this game like no man's business. And obviously it's a Soulsborne, that's the point, which almost makes it way more engaging because 1, not a lot of VR games are actually difficult, unless it's like multiplayer, that's a whole different skill ladder. But like, not a lot of single player VR games are meant to be difficult, even on their highest difficulties. And as I remember, Grimlord doesn't have a difficulty because it's just supposed to be hard. But it's this whole other, I actually mentioned it in the middle of a gameplay video, but it's this whole other level of immersion when you play a Soulsborne in VR. Because not only is the game actually difficult within itself, but also you're fighting physically. So not only are you actually having to face enemies that are difficult, but you're also having to face your own fatigue, right? Because as fun as it is, swinging a sword or swinging whatever weapon consistently gets tiring after a bit. Even if it's not like something heavy that you're swinging, doing the motions gets tiring after a bit. And it almost makes fights that much more engaging because you're like, oh, I'm physically getting tired. This is not a factor that I considered when gaming. And the thing is, it's not just like boss room after boss room after boss room, but you're fighting waves of enemies to get to the boss room anyways. So you kind of get worked down a little bit in terms of like your fatigue overall when it comes to fighting enemies. And even though I probably don't have to commit nearly as hard to the swings that I'm doing, there's still going to be a level of fatigue overall or tiresomeness when it comes to playing this game, because you're still fighting a bunch of enemies that have their own different movesets, have their own weaknesses in certain areas or defenses. There's enough variety within the enemies where you don't just have to Similarly to games like Blade and Sorcery, just hold up your weapon and walk into people. I think Grimlord has done a really damn good job in terms of like combating the ease of a lot of VR fighting games, because a lot of the time what kills immersion is the fact that people can just walk into other people with weapons and enemies kind of just fall into them. Grimlord, if I swing a specific way, people will dodge, people will defend, people will block, people will counterattack. Sure, the AI isn't an absolute genius, and you know, once you start to pick up on a lot of their movesets, you can defend and fight off against them pretty damn well. Or if you just have the energy to just start smacking the ever-living shit out of people, that might help too, but that won't happen without them getting a few licks in. The enemies of Grimlord have a brain. And as much as I love games like Blade and Sorcery, granted, it is on a very old engine, so I understand why their AI might not be the greatest on the face of the planet, but like, I know that there is absolutely no panic if I see 10 enemies in Blade and Sorcery. I panic or get nervous when I see more than 3 in Grimlord. There is an actual factor of difficulty because the enemies are smarter and in numbers are even more concerning. One-on-ones can even be challenging if with the right person, or especially if you're caught off guard too. And you're not just extremely overpowered as you are in those other sandbox fantasy type games. Did I almost say Phantom? The fuck, bro? You're starting from ground zero and you're working your character up towards becoming the overpowered powerhouse they will eventually be. But I feel like enemies are spread out enough in this game, well enough, to the point where I encounter something new pretty often that continues to keep me interested and doesn't necessarily feel like I'm fighting the exact same variation of enemy. Like, you go from basic unarmored zombies to armored zombies to the thicker zombies to archer zombies to knights, then eventually mages that also spawn more zombies, then archers, then like the red fucking armored enemies too, and then eventually to the gold armored, and it's just like, this was within like 3 levels basically. I feel like, and this is not even counting the bosses, I'm just purely talking about common enemies, but like, I feel like, and skeletons, I forgot to mention that. I have encountered so many variations of enemies so far just in my playthrough as of right now, as of November 6th, which is the time I'm recording this. God knows when this is actually going to be coming out. Maybe I'll actually try and get it out for tomorrow's video. That's not normal. There's so many different types of enemies and different types of variations that actually make everything more immersive and feel like a significant challenge. You can't just grab an enemy by the neck and throw them like they're paper mache in like Blade and Sorcery, for example. You really have to lock in, understand and memorize their attack patterns, learn how to parry or at least keep your distance with magic or archery. And because of this risk, it makes that way more engaging. You just cannot be careless in this game, or else you'll see probably quite a lot. Overall, I think that this is just a new genre for VR, especially with what seems to be a recent huge popularization of like overall Soulsbornes just in flat screen gaming in general. Like, there's always been a hype for Soulsborne games, but I feel like really recently, within the last 3 to 5 years, there's been a huge focus and hypeness on Soulsborne. I think that Grimlord is going to start a new wave of that. Like, look at Jedi Survivor, Lies of P, Nine Souls, Black Myth, Wukong, all that sort of stuff. Maybe not necessarily Soulsborne, but like that difficulty. A lot of them are, a lot of what I just named was Souls inspired or like Soulsborne-esque. And since VR tends to follow a lot of the trends that you tend to see in flat screen gaming because that's what works, like as of right now, the VR Battlefield Forefront just came out, which I might maybe make a video on, who knows. You can see that that's probably going to be the next step. Look at Pavlov, it's CSGO. Look at Contractors, it's Call of Duty. Look at Into the Radius, it's Stalker. Look at Half-Life, it's, well, that one's just Half-Life. Well, that actually is another point. Like, look at the literal sequels that we have ported into VR, like Half-Life, Metro, or The Walking Dead. I just think that this is going to open some doors for other developers to kind of look into this sort of thing, which I think is super cool. We need more VR games, we need more attention and more love to that sort of thing. And now that I think about it, I just remembered as of right now, I think there's actually going to be a VR showcase coming next week, so I might make a video on that. I guess we'll see. I'm getting distracted. More on Grimlord. Hopefully developers can look more into this, or a similar style of game where there's actually a story, like an in-depth story, leveling systems, skill trees, all that sort of stuff, customizability, and so much more. Like, I didn't even talk about half of the customizable shit in this. There's fucking necklaces that give you shit. There's an entire skill tree where you can do strength, magic builds, all that sort of stuff. It's still kind of overall skimmed in what I was talking about, but like, there's so much to this game. And when I say there's so much to this game, it only continued. What I gotta give so much credit for to the creators of Grimlord is the fact that not only did they finish their game in 1.0 and release it, which is rare nowadays since everything's always early access, but it was done in a reasonably like fast turnaround is all I gotta say first off. Good on you. But after they released the game, they put a roadmap out, which, you know, one of my favorite, if you've been on this channel for a minute or if you watch a lot of these review videos, you know one of my favorite things ever is roadmaps, yo. I love to see where the direction of the game is going. I love to see what ideas are in store, what the developers are usually open to. And the first thing that they did near the release of this game is immediately put a roadmap out for, I believe, 2024 to 2025. Oh yeah, it's this. Okay. And although, you know, the dates don't have to be perfect, I don't really care about that. I just like to know generally what's going on and what the main idea is in the first place. And literally this roadmap has managed to implement literally everything that I think makes a really good game and keeps it long lasting as well. Unfortunately, we've only hit, wait, mod tools aren't out, right? I'm pretty sure mod tools aren't out yet. But we've hit basically Q1 of 2025 and I know we're in Q4. Who cares? At the very least, that's just getting carried on to 2026. I just like to know what will be happening. Granted, I haven't kept to date as much on this game as I have other games, so bear with me on that. But I at least know that there's a lot more to come. Like, as you can see here, it talked about arena mode as well as new systems such as character customization, which I don't remember if character customization has fully come out, but there's already a decent amount of customizability anyways. Or I guess that's just more on the actual individual's face because you're just some random person. They also mentioned mod tools, which I'm imagining is a roller coaster of spaghetti code to go through, just because to even set that up in place and then leave it up to the community, this game has got to be like really have a really solid foundation overall. They even mentioned a free chapter DLC will be released, which is super cool. And the one part that I'm hyped about the most that I had no idea they even thought about in the first place is the fact that they're going to be doing an online multiplayer mode. To what that will be, I'm not necessarily certain. I'm assuming co-op similar to just your average Soulsborne games, but the idea of that is actually so fucking sick. And the best part about it is the fact that they're good with feedback. They take a lot of feedback, unlike, you know, specific developers, no shade. They take a good amount of feedback that I feel like a lot of people need to dive into. And they enjoy actually engaging with the community within their Discords too. Overall, I think Grimlord has offered an absolutely phenomenal VR single player experience that I think a lot of games are going to take inspiration from. They've really set the foundation and the building blocks in terms of what should be delivered in VR as a very quality product. And although I only spoke briefly about specific things, there's still so much that I hadn't even dived into that I feel like are genuinely notable things to consider when getting this game. And I'm sure that I probably won't ever forget this title. Not for its amazing and astounding graphics, which are still pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. The graphics are actually pretty damn good. Not for its truly artistic character design, which is also nice. They do a pretty damn good job on that as well. But because of the level of immersion here. Because I feel like I am actually legitimately facing challenging bosses and being put to the test in terms of my adaptability, in terms of learning the patterns of specific bosses, and in terms of actually applying, you know, builds that I'm making to defeat these bosses as efficiently as possible. Overall, I feel so heavily immersed in this game. It almost feels like there's different types of immersion when it comes to VR, and this feels immersive in a way that I'm not necessarily certain I could describe. Maybe because it feels way more physical than a lot of VR games. Unless you're playing like Thrill the Fight or some shit, who knows? Or maybe just because I'm horrifically unfit, who knows? That's probably a contributing factor as to why these challenges are just challenging as hell. Fuck, I don't know. At the end of the day, I enjoyed what Grimlord has had to offer, and I'm excited to see what they're gonna continue to offer later down the line. That's probably gonna be consistently updated within their Discord. So I guess just stay within that shit, I guess. I don't fucking know, bro. I'm just the chronic yapper at this point, bro. I don't have that source of information. Thank you for watching the video. If you like this, please like, leave.